All right. So I'll just repeat myself as usual. Yesterday you had time to finish any work, so there's really no excuse. We only have like three assignments for R5, so you should have everything in at this point. Um, Today we're watching episode 3 and 6, and we're going to find those in the modules. That's all we have to do today. It's really not that hard. So if you are watching this, I am going to be recording us watching those, but you are welcome to go watch them on your own if you really want. You don't have to watch me watching them, basically. And then tomorrow we're going to do the character project. And it's kind of fun. It's a little bit interesting. We're doing a bunch of just different things, and you're learning some different skills, basically. And that's the purpose of all of these projects is sometimes they go over some of the same things, but you're getting better at using the tools in Adobe Illustrator, along with you're seeing different perspectives on why to use Adobe Illustrator. Because obviously we did the pen tool just to learn how to use some of the one of the main tools. Then the potted plant assignment allowed us to do this even more, the business logo, and then even now here to the home blueprints and eventually the character project. You're just seeing different things. You know, this is more of an entertainment thing that we're seeing more and more in the world. This is something that actually introduced you to a possible career. I mean, I don't know how many of y'all enjoyed making those blueprints, but you know, it's a little interesting. And you also got into seeing some houses. Realtor.com is pretty cool, so that was the reason for that. And then the potted plant activity, again, that was just for to make some kind of fun art, but you saw some practical purposes of it. And then lastly, one of the main ones is the business logo activity, which is allow you to think about how businesses might would make logos in Adobe Illustrator. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and watch episode 3 and 6. Just ignore this part up here. You're not doing any of that. We're just watching it, as I said, so no worries. Gareth is going to go over this for us. Maybe.
Hello and welcome to this video tutorial brought to you by tastytunes.com. In this video, we are going to take a closer look at artboards in Adobe Illustrator. In the last episode, I demonstrated how to create a custom workspace. If you have not seen that episode, the workspace is basically a panel setup here in Adobe Illustrator. For this tutorial, we will be using this workspace, and along the way, we will be referencing the artboard panel, which is situated here next to my layers panel. And if you can't see this, you can simply select the panel up here to reveal it. If you don't have the artboard panel active, you can either skip to the previous video if you have not seen it, or simply come up to the top menu, select Window, and click Artboard to activate your artboard panel. To follow along with this tutorial, you will need to open this document I have prepared especially for this tutorial. This can be found in the Introduction folder in the Project folder. Now, you can download this project folder for free. The link is in the description. So, with the project folder open, click Introduction, Artboards, Versions, and select the version of Illustrator you're using. In my case, it's CC, and open the Artboards file. And you should have something that looks like this. Okay, so what are artboards in Adobe Illustrator? Well, to put it simply, they are canvases that make up a document. Adobe Illustrator allows you to create multiple artboards in a document. This is useful if you want to create small document spreads like a leaflet or a flyer, or simply expand your workspace area to create various versions of your artwork. You could even use this method to create digital presentations. So here I have a document open, which is like a small leaflet, and we can see here that this consists of 6 portrait A4 artboards. And as you can see, I have numbered them and colored them accordingly. Now, if we come over to our side panels and navigate to the artboards panel, you can see this panel contains a list. This list represents all the artboards contained in my current document. As you can see, I am currently zoomed out quite a bit, so we can see the entire document artboard. Though, if I choose a artboard in the panel, let's say artboard 6 here, come to the grey area to the right and double click, we can quickly navigate to that particular artboard. If I double click on the artboard name, however, this will enable you to rename the artboard. For example, let's rename this artboard to Orange 6 and click off. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom out a little so we can see all of them. Okay, so let's say we want to make some changes to the artboard arrangement. Let's say we want to reorder some of the artboards. For example, I'm going to select Artboard 4 on the Artboard panel, and at the bottom of the Artboard panel, we can see some buttons. With the Artboard 4 selected, I'm going to press the Move Down button a few times. Notice how the artboard moves down on the panel, but nothing really changes on the canvas area. Well, this is because we now have to refresh the arrangement. We can do this by coming to the top right-hand corner of the artboard panel and click on the menu icon. Then click Rearrange Artboard. Up will pop a window. For now, we are just going to click OK, and upon click, we will see the artboard has been repositioned. If I want to move it back, I'll simply select the artboard on the panel, but this time click on the Move Up button. Once I'm happy, I'm going to again click on the Artboard menu panel options button, select Rearrange Artboards, and click OK, and the page is back where it was to start. Okay, so let's say we want to remove an artboard. This can be done by selecting the artboard on the artboard panel, let's say artboard 3. Simply come to the bottom of the artboard panel and click Delete. Now, notice how the artwork still remains. So we are going to have to select the objects and then delete them. So now we have this space where the old artboard was. Just like earlier, if we come to the top right of the artboard panel, click and select Rearrange Artboard, then click OK, the document will refresh. Excellent. So what if we want to add some artboards? Well, to do this, we simply click a place on the artboard panel where we want to add a new board. For example, I'm going to select Artboard 4 in the panel, then click the New Artboard button on the bottom of the artboard panel. Then I'm going to click on Artboard 5 on the panel and click the Add New Artboard again. But notice this time how the artboards are just added on the side. Well, again, if I come to the top right of the artboard panel and click the menu, select Rearrange, click OK, the document will refresh and we can see the correct pagination. Nice. I'm just going to undo that as I don't want these pages. Now, what if we want to add a new artboard, but in a different size? Well, here we can use the Artboard tool. If we come to the menu on the far left and look towards the bottom, we have the Artboard tool. If we click this, you will notice we go into a new mode where we can attempt to create a new artboard. So to begin, we can either click and drag to create a custom artboard size, or we can come up to the control panel and select from a list of presets. And here we have a lot to choose from. We have some paper sizes, some screen sizes, and some mobile and web screen sizes. But since this is a print document, let's go for A3. And upon click, the previously drawn artboard is changed to A3. Then I'm going to come up to the top and change the page orientation to landscape. Once I'm happy with this, I can press V to activate the selection tool and click to jump back to the normal mode. But notice how it appears oddly placed. Well, again, if I come to the top right of the artboard panel, click the menu, select Rearrange, click OK, the document will refresh and we can see the correct layout. So what if we want to change the page orientation of an existing artboard? Well, to do this, we simply click on an artboard, let's say number 2. With the artboard selected, I will come to the top right of the artboard panel, click the menu button. This time, I'm going to select Artboard Options. Upon click, a different options window will appear. If you look closely, we can see an orientation option. Currently, we can see this is set to Portrait. If I click onto Landscape and click OK, you will now see the artboard change from Portrait to Landscape. By now, you should now know what you need to do next. We are going to need to refresh this layout. So again, if I come to the top right of the artboard panel and click the menu, select Rearrange, click OK, the document will refresh. But notice this time, the artwork on the artboards have not moved with the pages. So in this instance, we are going to have to select the elements on the page and move them into the correct position. For now, I'm simply going to press Undo to go back to my previous layout of 6 artboards. So that's how we can rearrange, remove artboards, and use the artboard tool, and change the orientation of existing artboards. So currently, my artboards are displayed in 3 columns here. Now, what if I want to change this? Well, this can be done quite simply. If I come to the top right of the artboards panel and click the menu, select Rearrange, up will pop the familiar Options panel. If we look closely, we can see towards the top an option called Layout and a series of icons to the right of this. These icons represent different artboard composition layouts here in Illustrator. So currently we have our layout set to grid by row and with the columns set to 3. Let's try changing this. Let's say 5 and press OK. Now you can see the layout has changed. If we come back to the Rearrange menu like earlier, but this time select the grid by column option and enter 4 rows and click OK, again the layout has changed. If we come back to the Rearrange menu again, this time I'm going to select Layout by column, click OK, and you can see the change. I'm simply going to press Undo a few times to go back to my previous layout. So that covers artboards in Adobe Illustrator. In the next video, we will be learning about some vector basics and how we can begin to operate in Adobe Illustrator. So I'll see you in the next video.
All right. Let's see real quick. Do it now? What video is that? Oh, yes. Let's watch that instead. No, I'm just kidding. Definitely more worth it. Just kidding. It's probably a scam. He wants you to buy some kind of his book, or he's got some timeshares he's trying to get rid of. Who knows? I once almost got roped into a timeshare scheme. It was really bad. I did not enjoy it. Are you flicking me off, Braden? Really like you're trying to flick me off. I was like, all right, Braden. Love you too. This is a little bit longer. But again, bear with me. You're not having to do anything today. You're just having to watch these 2 videos. That's not that bad, right? And then I got you plenty of time to finish anything, correct anything, do anything you need. So honestly, not too bad. So I like how I've obviously been looking up videos about kayaking, because kayaking is coming up as a potential thing. Like, this is how to fish better from your kayaks.
Hello and welcome to this video tutorial brought to you by tastycheese.com. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about color and demonstrate some color effects and tools in Adobe Illustrator. In Illustrator, there are many ways to use color. It all really comes down to what exactly you're using color for. For example, if you're creating artwork for digital and web, you will want to use RGB colors. And if you're creating artwork for print, you may wish to use CMYK colors. In some cases, you may find yourself using a Pantone book to reference colors, or a printer you wish to use will only require Pantones. In this video, I'm going to be covering swatches and Pantones and discussing how you can customize and handle your colors for your specific task. Later, I will also be touching on gradients and transparency. To follow along with this tutorial, you will need to open this document I have prepared especially for this tutorial. This can be found in the Introduction folder, in the Project folder. Now, you can download this project folder for free. The download link is in the description. So, with the project folder open, click Introduction, Color Effects, Versions, and select the version of Illustrator you're using. In my case, it's CC, and open the color effect file, and you should have something that looks like this. Now, along the way, I'm going to be referencing particular panels here on the right. If you have been following this course from the start, you will be familiar with the way I have my panels structured here. In one of the early videos on this course, I demonstrated how to customize panels and create your own workspace. In my current workspace, I have all my color panels up here on the top for ease of access. If you don't have this, you can either skip back to my panels and workspace video and learn how to create this panel setup, or you can activate the panels as and when I mention them. Now, we're going to be covering a lot in this video and in quite some depth. If you wish to skip ahead at any point in this video or back, you can do so quite simply. The topics covered in this video are listed in the description along with their times, so be sure to check that out. So I'm going to begin by talking about some of the color panels in Adobe Illustrator we will be using in this tutorial. To make this really clear, I'm just going to click on each tab and drag it out here so you can clearly see them. I recommend you do the same. So here we have the swatches panel, the color panel, a Pantone panel, we have the gradient panel, and the transparency panel. If you don't see these panels, you can access these if you come to Window, and you can select them from here. Though you will not be able to get this Pantone panel from the panel list. I'll be talking about this a little later on. Okay, so first off, we have the swatches panel. Now, this is a handy panel where you can access some predefined colors. If you're new to Illustrator, your swatches panel will come with a bunch of predefined swatches, just like mine here. So here we mostly have some colors, but we also have some color effects too, such as gradients and pattern overlays. If you move your mouse cursor over your swatches, you will see the name pop up. Now, if you double click on a swatch, up will pop the options, and this window will tell you more details about the color. In this instance, we have the color mode of the document set to RGB. So this swatch is showing the color mode of RGB, and here we can see the values. At this point, it's important to mention that currently my document color mode is currently set to RGB. You can change your color mode by coming up to the top menu and selecting File, scrolling down to Document Color Mode, and selecting CMYK or RGB from here. If you're doing work for web or digital, you will want to set to RGB, and if you're doing work for print, you will want to set this to CMYK. If you change to CMYK, you will notice when you double click on some of your swatches, it will display the CMYK values instead of RGB. So double clicking in the swatches panel will show you the values. However, with the swatch selected, you will also see the color in your tools menu. For example, I'm going to select a color from the swatch panel, and here we can see it in our tools menu. Now, if you come to the square in the tools menu and double click this, a color picker menu will appear. This will allow you to see the web color of that swatch, and here you could continue to select a new color from the color spectrum here. Adding colors to the swatches panel is very easy. For example, let's just click a color here on the second artboard. Upon click, you will notice the color appear in the tools menu. If I want to save this color for later, we can simply put our mouse cursor over the color square, click and drag into the swatches panel and release. And there is our new color swatch on the end there. Easy. In the swatches panel, you can also create and store swatches you make yourself as color libraries. This makes it easy if you're working on a particular project and wish to save your colors. You can also export the libraries too and share them with others. If you look closely, you can see I have some folders here with some swatches I have prepared earlier. And I will be talking a little more about these later. So the swatches panel is a pretty handy panel, and you will be finding yourself using this a lot as you create your artwork. Next, we have the color panel. As you can see here, we have a complete color spectrum. And if we move our mouse cursor over this, we will see the cursor change to an eyedropper tool. And this will allow us to choose a color like so. Once we have the color in mind, we can simply select it. And just like earlier, the color will appear in the tools menu. And if we like that color, we can simply drag it into our swatches panel. Next, we have a Pantone panel. This contains a library of solid coated Pantones. Now, this is not open by default if you're new to Illustrator. If you want this panel, you're going to have to open this separately. I'll be showing you a little later on how we can do this and how to incorporate these colors into our work. Next, we have the color guide panel. Now, this is a handy panel if you seek to discover alternative shades and tints of a particular color. For example, if I select a color in the swatches panel, notice how this color guide panel changes. The top bar features the color and shows some alternative shades and tints, and below are the colors around the same tone. This can be pretty handy if you're looking to research various tones and shades of a particular color. Next, we have the gradient panel. If I go ahead and click on a gradient, if I click on a gradient object in my document, we can see this come to life. We are going to be using this a little later on and learn how we can use this gradient panel. And finally, we have the transparency panel. It's in this panel that we can control the transparency of an object on our document area. So before we begin, I'm simply going to close the Pantone panel, as I'm going to show you how to reactivate this later. Then click on all the other panel tabs and drag them into one panel group and reposition this along with my other panels here on the right, making sure to place it at the very top for quick access. Okay, so now you have been introduced to the panels, let's take a look at some examples. So with the document open, let's turn to the first artboard. So as you can see here, I have some pre-composed colors. On the left, I have some digital colors, and on the right, I have some Pantone colors. And as you can see here, I have listed the web and Pantone color references. Now, at first glance, they look identical. These colors on the left look exactly the same as the colors on the right. But in actual fact, they are not the same. If we were to create a piece of artwork for print, and the printer required Pantone only colors, then all the colors over here on the left would be unacceptable. Allow me to show you the difference. Now with the selection tool, first click on the top left digital color, this red one here, and look closely in the swatches panel. You can see we have this red swatch selected. Now select the red Pantone example to the right and notice how another swatch is highlighted in the swatch panel. Okay, so click back on the first example, come to the swatch panel and double click on it. We can see from the swatch pop-up option that this is a RGB color and we can see the values. Click OK. Next, click back onto the Pantone color and in the swatches panel, double click on that. Now this time we have different values in the swatch options pop-up and we can see that this is a Pantone spot color. Once again, click OK. So looking in the swatches panel, we can see two color libraries. Now, at first glance, they appear to be the same, but in actual fact, they are different, and we would use these colors in different instances. Notice the color library below has these little white tabs with a spot in. This is Illustrator communicating to us that these are Pantone colors and are different from the other swatches. So now we are on the subject of Pantones, I'm going to show you how you can find the Pantone panel. Some of you may use Pantone books to discover and reference your colors. Once you know your Pantone number, you're going to need to source it in Illustrator. So to do this, you need to come to your swatches panel and come to the top right and click on the little menu button. On click, you will then need to come down to Open Swatch Library. When you roll over this, you will then see a large list of color libraries. We are then going to come to color books, and again, we will see another list. And here we can see a series of Pantone color books. So I'm going to go ahead and select the Pantone Solid color book. Upon click, you will now see your new Pantone panel. If you know the number of your Pantone, you can simply click the number in the top to search for it. For example, I'm going to type in 802, and this will find the same green Pantone I have here. Excellent. So to discover many Pantones and get access to other color books, you can use that technique. If you use Pantones a lot, you can simply drag your Pantone panel into your panels to the right, and that will remain there for quick access in future. Okay, so let's come over to the next artboard. In Illustrator, you can also source colors from images. If you take any photos for your design research or find images on the internet, you can simply place them into Illustrator and use the eyedropper tool to pick out colors from the image. So here is an image I have for you to have a go with. Below you can see some colors I have already picked out. So to do this, we first need to draw a shape on the document area. I have some shapes here I have created for you. You will need to first select a shape. So with the selection tool, I'm going to click on the first square shape. And if we look in the tools menu, we can see that this vector shape currently has a gray fill and no stroke. Now we know this because the stroke color has a red dash through it. Now come up in the menu and we are going to select the eyedropper tool. This is just around 2/3 of the way down here. Once you have this tool active, you will notice the mouse cursor change to the eyedropper. So now we are going to move our mouse cursor over into the picture and choose a color we like. I'm just going to go ahead and click to select a color. Upon click, the grey box will change to a color, that particular color that we just selected in the image. Pretty cool, right? So now I have a new colored square vector, and the color is currently selected in the Tools menu. Now remember earlier with the swatches panel, if I like this color, all I have to do now is simply click on the square in the Tools menu and drag across and drop into my swatches panel, and it's there for me to use again later. So I'm going to press V on the keyboard to select the selection tool, and then I'm going to click on the next grey box. With the next grey box ready, I'm going to come to the menu and again select the eyedropper tool. This time I'm going to come over to the image. Instead of clicking once, I'm going to click and drag over my image. Now pay close attention to the color in the Tools menu. As you move your mouse around, you will see the colors changing in the Tools menu. This is Illustrator giving you a prompt to what color this is. This will make it easy for you to move around until you find a color you're interested in. So once I find a color I am happy with, I will release click and I will make the selection, and my square vector will change. Nice. So have a go at this and try and discover some new colors from the picture. Then once you are happy, move on to the next artboard page. So next we're going to talk about gradients. At this point you will need to click on your gradient panel. In Illustrator, we can apply gradient effects to vectors. Here is one I have prepared earlier. With the selection tool, I'm going to press V on the keyboard. I'm going to select my circle with the gradient applied. Once this is selected, look in your gradient panel, and it's here we can see the details. We can see what colors make up the gradient and the values of distribution. It's here where we can modify the gradient. Now, we are going to create our own gradient here on this empty circle to the right. So first we need to select the circle with our selection tool, and an easy way to begin this is to come to the swatches panel. Now Illustrator comes with a predefined gradient, and we're going to find it and click it like so. So here we are with the gradient. Next we'll want to reactivate our gradient panel so we can see the properties. Next, if we come to the menu here, we are about to use the gradient tool, and we can see this just above the eyedropper tool. If we select this, we now have a gradient bar on our shape. Now this represents our gradient effect applied to our shape, and we are going to use this to adjust the gradient. So now I'm going to start to click and drag over my shape, and you will notice this will change the gradient direction and distribution. So once we are happy with the gradient, we can move our mouse cursor closer and over the line, and now we can see the colors that make up the gradient. If you are not happy with a color, you can simply click and drag it off. If you want to alter the distribution of a color, you can click on a tab and drag it along the bar like so. If I double click on one of the color tabs, up will pop a color picker menu. Notice to the left you can activate your swatches and choose a swatch from this. So I'm going to just alter my gradient until I have something that looks like this. Now, if I look on the gradient panel to my right, I can do a couple of things here. If I want to, I can alter the type. I can change this from linear to radial. And if I come just down to the left here, I can click on the reverse button, and that can reverse my gradient like so. So that's a little intro to the gradient effect. Now finally, I'm going to talk about transparency, and this is an effect you may wish to use. For this, you will need your transparency panel open. So here we have two circles, and you can see they are overlapping in the middle. We have this effect because the top object is transparent, showing some of the circle below through it. At any point, if you click on an object, you can see its opacity in the transparency panel, and I have my panel open here. With the selection tool, I'm going to select the first circle on the left, and if we look in the transparency panel, we can see the opacity of the circle is 50%. If I want to toggle the opacity, I can simply type in the value or click the drop-down menu to select the value from there. So I'm going to click this and select 80% like so. Next, I'm going to select the circle to the right, and we can see this is set to 20%. I'm going to go ahead and change this to 70%. So that is how you can toggle opacity in Illustrator. So that's an introduction to color in Adobe Illustrator. Be sure to get comfortable with the color panels, as that will improve your workflow and assist you to use the right colors for the right task. In the next video, I'm going to cover 10 details in Adobe Illustrator that you should know and be up to speed with before starting a project. The things I'm going to cover in this video are things that are going to improve your workflow and help you create your artwork. See you in the next video.
Cool. All right. So that was the videos you needed to watch today. We are now done. Like I said, I'm going to give you a little bit of time now today to finish anything you have not completed. I'm going to stop the recording. If y'all have any questions who are watching this, please send me an email. That's not what I wanted.